In this series of videos, we will be reviewing features of the KR-800 autorefractors, which include the KR-800, the KR-800PA, and the KR-800S. Each of these models are operated in a similar way, but some of the models will provide different features than the others. In this video, we will be discussing the features and icons that are specific to the KR-800S. The features that are common to all three KR-800 models are explained in a separate video, as are the features specific to the KR-800PA. The objective-subjective icon is used to switch to the subjective mode once the autorefraction of both eyes has been completed. The rest of the icons are common to all KR models, as are explained in a separate video. Once you have acquired autorefraction data on both eyes, you can either print out your results and move on to the next patient, or you can select the objective-subjective icon to access additional features such as visual acuity, contrast sensitivity, grid testing, and glare testing. To test visual acuity, make sure that the lower left icon is set to ref for refraction, that the next icon shows a visual acuity chart, and that the third icon is set to far. Use the acuity icons to determine the patient's visual acuity. Start with the larger letters and ask the patient to read them. Choose smaller and smaller letters until the patient can no longer read them. Leave the last icon that they could read selected. Alternatively, you can select the VA All icon to display the entire visual acuity chart to the patient. Ask the patient to read the lowest line that they can, then select the acuity icon that corresponds to that line of vision. Either way, once the proper acuity icon has been selected, use the VA icon to record the patient's visual acuity. If desired, you can use the plus and minus icons to adjust the spherical power. However, unless you're familiar with refraction techniques, it's best to leave these alone. Note that the cylinder power and axis cannot be adjusted. Select the other eye and repeat these steps to determine and record the visual acuity of that eye. Testing near visual acuity works the same way as testing distance acuity. For this test, make sure that the lower left icon is set to ref for refraction, that the next icon shows a vision chart, and that the third icon is set to near, and that the new icon that appears next to it is set to mono. Now select the new near vision chart icon that has appeared near the upper left of the screen. Once these icons have been adjusted, proceed in the same way as you did with the distance vision testing. To begin glare testing for cataracts or other pathologies, make sure that the lower left icon is set to ref for refraction, that the next icon is set for the vision acuity chart, and that the third icon is set to far. Then select the glare icon. Note that the glare button is at the bottom of the screen and that the lights icon will appear near the upper left. Now activate the LED lights by selecting the new lights icon that has appeared near the upper left of the screen. Once these icons have been adjusted, proceed in the same way as you did with the distance vision testing. To begin contrast sensitivity testing, make sure that the lower left icon is set to ref for refraction, that the next icon shows a visual acuity chart, and that the third icon is set to far. Then select the contrast icon. Use the new contrast plus and minus icons to increase or decrease the contrast to the desired value. Once these icons have been adjusted, proceed in the same way as you did with the distance vision testing. To begin grid testing for macular degeneration, make sure that the lower left icon is set to ref for refraction and that the next icon shows the grid pattern instead of the vision chart. Note that a grid pattern with check marks will appear at the lower right of the screen. Have the patient look at the center dot and tell you if there's any distortion. If there is, select the central check mark. Then have the patient look at the upper left corner of the grid and ask about distortions. If they see a distortion, click on the upper left check mark. Repeat this process for each of the remaining corners. If you'd like the grid to show up constantly versus instantly, you can select the icon here to make sure it says constant, or you can click on instant to make sure that the grid only appears for an instant. The reason for this option is that when a patient looks at a grid and sees distortion, after time, their brain may attempt to fix the distorted image. If you wish to have the grid displayed for only an instant, make sure this icon says Inst. Explain to the patient that a grid will appear for just a moment and have them tell you if they notice any distortion in the pattern. Then use the on icon near the upper left to activate the grid image. Once activated, the grid will vanish again quickly. Select the other eye and repeat these steps to determine and record any grid distortions for that eye. The spherical equivalent icon can be used to convert the patient's autorefraction into a spherical equivalent. This feature can be used to show a cataract patient the difference between choosing a premium toric IOL by having the spherical equivalent icon off and a basic spherical IOL by turning the spherical equivalent icon on. The reset icon will undo changes that you've made on the screen. If you would like to reset your data, just click OK. Thank you for watching. For more information, please go to topconhealthcare.com.